So this is a recap of the training I gave earlier today at the Lead Engineer Forum on March 12th to go over a budget tracking tool that we created in Spokane and have been using, but we haven't uh, asked anybody else to give it a test run, and I wanted to gauge people's thoughts and reactions on if this might be something they might find some use for. So this tool was born out of Jeff Urich, who's our engineering manager in Spokane. He really wasn't happy with the budget tracking tools he had available to him. Um, Specifically, the types of projects we work on in Spokane tend to be quick hitters, quick hitter energy projects specifically, where we have a, say, a 4 to 6 week design schedule. And the tools that Jeff was using really only allowed him to track things on a month to month basis, which isn't super useful when you only have 4 to 6 weeks in your overall schedule. So Jeff tasked our intern this last summer with creating a better tool so that we could effectively track these projects. So this is the overall spreadsheet, and the idea is to show the total budget as this blue line that runs along the top. That's our total design budget. This dark gray line is that's our milestone budgets, which you might have multiple deliverables along the way, and then the orange line would be the effort spent to date. So the idea is you can kind of gauge, well, is my orange line, is my effort spent to date below where I think I should be at this point or not, and hopefully identify any potential issues before they become big issues. So to use this thing, the first thing you have to do is go into Viewpoint, and we need to go to job cost, reports, and then do the um, JC transaction details. So we double click on that. And we open this spreadsheet. Click report parameters. And this pop-up shows up. The company, whether that's McKinstry Company or McKinstry Ascension, depends on what type of contract it is. So if you're doing any work with our energy group, or if it's a standalone design contract, that would be Ascension. But if you're doing design work directly for our construction teams and you are direct charging their jobs, that would be McKinstry Company. So most of our jobs, I think, are in this Ascension bucket. So I'm going to run through a project I worked on to show you how this thing works. The contract number is just the job number. Make sure you don't put the 3-digit suffix at the end of this, because every time I do, it crashes this whole thing. So just the 6-digit job number. Within the job, you could narrow it down to specific sub job numbers in there. Like if you only wanted the 002 jobs. If you are working in the energy world, you're probably used to doing your preliminary design work under the, say, 002 sub job. And then when you get into final design, you are now in the 003. Or you can leave that blank. And then when we run this report, it pulls everyone's time who's charged that job. But we are really only concerned with design. So you need to make sure you filter this down. I usually do it based on the phase description. And normally we only need to check a couple of these. say design and engineering supervision and mechanical design. If you're using in-house electrical design, then you might need to grab that, or structural design. In Spokane, we typically sub that work out on the design side. So we are usually only worrying about the mechanical side. And now here is all the design time charged to this job. So if we grab all of that data, actually first, let's hop back into here. So this is the template file. So this has some bogus data in here with milestones and dates and budgets. Let's make a copy of this. Let's name it my project, which is Yakima Valley College Phase 4. We have this simple macro here where if you push this button, this will delete all of our inputs. This can't be reversed. Make sure you're okay with that because it can't be undone. And now we're starting from a blank slate. So I need to fill out some of this info. So we'll give it a project name, YVC Phase 4. This was a HVAC project at their skill center. The report start and end date dictates the x-axis limits on this. So that will be specific to your project. I'll throw in March 1st to December 1st. The cost adjust, this is a drop down. So we're either going to be at cost, meaning any project where we are direct charging somebody else's job, whether that's the construction team or the energy development team, that would be an at cost project. If we have a standalone contract, that would be the sell rate. And if you click the sell rate, this will appear where you can plug in your target margin. And what that does is it will adjust all of the time that's charged to the job to account for that margin. So it will inflate all of the costs that hit the job. In this case, because it was an energy project, this will be at cost. So you can see that goes away because it doesn't apply. And let's go ahead and copy and paste our data. So we have all of our data now. And I mean, this goes down to, I forget how many rows, but we threw in a lot of rows. So hopefully that covers most jobs, even beyond where this coloring changes, the data keeps grabbing after that. So now that we have the data in here, we can see over time how that time was being charged, but we don't have any deliverables in here. So in this case, we had a few deliverables. The way I usually like to start is my first major milestone, which I use to dictate the start green here, would be our 100% issue for construction documents. And that was due on 5/22. But then we also had some intermediate milestones where we had an equipment procurement package where we had to get equipment on order ahead of the final design docs, which was on 4/17. We had a 90% review with the owner. It was on 5/13. And our overall budget on this job was $16,800. The way I like to do it is I usually will take our budget and take about 85% of that and say that's about what it'll take to get to construction drawings. And then the remaining 15% I put in for whatever CA work comes after that. And then the record drawings would be the final deliverable there. And in this case, we also had a revision 1 that happened after the stamped drawings. And you can see that as I populate these milestones, they show up over here. And so you can actually start to see, where am I at this equipment procurement? How much have I spent? This line right here is just a linear interpolation to get to that first major milestone, which was this 100% IFC. And then the remainder would be from that milestone to the second major milestone, which would be this record drawings right here. And the idea here is you can add more budget here. So let's say we had a change order. That came after that. And, we got another $5,000 for that. And it'll just keep updating. You can see our overall budget here on the blue line just got shifted up for that extra 5K. But in this case, we didn't have that. And then right here, we have some basic metrics. So our total budget, which is just a summation of all of these milestone budgets, the total spent. And so that's a summation of what has actually hit the job. And then, well, how much percent of that did we spend? Looks like we went over just a hair. How many hours is that? What's our aggregate rate? And how many hours do we feel like we have left? So that's how to build this for a project. Viewpoint is updated every week. So this can't track things on a day-to-day basis, but once a week, I would go in here, paste in new data, maybe update the dates if needed, and then I get a nice snapshot of where I'm at. The last thing on here, on this summary tab, if I put in a project name right here that matches one of these tab names, so YVC Phase 4, it will look at that tab and then pull all of this info. So what was the budget? What was the rate type? What's the latest data entry point in there? How much have we spent on the budget? And how much do we think we have left? And then once a project is complete, you can stick an X there and it'll turn it green. If you put a project name in here that doesn't match, like I think I renamed this tab to have IGA on it, and now it's telling me, hey, that project name doesn't exist. So I better fix that. And there, pulls it all in. So I've had a lot of success, or I've found a lot of value in using this tool and managing the financials of my project and just making sure that, hey, we're on track, or if we're not on track, what can we do about it, and try to address issues before it's too late, because that always seems to happen where by the time a budget is blown, it feels like nobody saw it coming. It just happened, and well, it's blown. Not much we can do at this point. The other thing is I'm a very visual person, and so I really like having this graph here and see where do we think we should be, where are we, how close are we to arriving at that total overall budget. So I'm going to send a copy of this out to the lead engineering team. I'm really the only one who has been using this tool, and I'd appreciate any feedback on it, or if you managed to break it in some way, I'd appreciate that feedback as well. So if you end up with any questions on it, feel free to shoot me an email or hit me up on Teams. Thanks.